Let's just get started by introducing the simple contact manager app. Like I said earlier in the call, this was done by the new AI builder, and we just have a super simple customers table here where we're going to install Exact Forms Plus into. And essentially, all we're going to do is add the ability to generate the document with the button as well, but we're also going to get the Exact Forms Plus batch arguments field. And what that is it's basically not the web version. It removes the URL and just gives you a formula text version that you can send over an email so that our processor can receive that request and fire back the completed document into this report, this record for you. So let's go ahead and start by installing Exact Forms Plus into this customers table within this simple contact manager application. So I'm going to go into the Juice Cloud. I'm in my company. Now, for those of you who have access to the Juice Cloud, it should look very similar to you. Obviously, you will probably not likely have all of these add-ons active unless you potentially have one of our Juice licenses. But if you do see, Exact Forms Plus active, you're going to want to open up that tile. Now, you may not have the application you're looking
Raymond,
for.
were you talking to him? Which well were you talking to him about? Yes.
Yeah, I think we had a little jump in there. No worries. So with that said, once you're into Exact Forms Plus, you can either identify if the application has already been authorized. So if you've already installed Exact Forms Plus into the application, you might want to go and jump in and set up another table. But if it's not yet been authorized, you want to go ahead and hit authorize new application. So I just want to make that part clear as well. If you already have access to Exact Forms Plus in the application you want to run this from, you want to hit set up another table. If not, authorize new application. So I'm almost positive that we do not see that the simple project or the simple contact manager has been authorized for Exact Forms Plus. So I'm going to go ahead and do the authorization. And we do have a lot here, 76. Most of you guys, if not, no, none of you guys on this call have 76 applications authorized. So you're all likely looking at a lot less numbers there. So I'm going to go ahead and enter a new user token. And I'm pretty sure I still have this popped in. Nobody steal it. It's a blank one anyway. Don't worry. You're just going to get these silly applications. We have the simple contact manager application office hours. That's what we're going to want to authorize. So we're going to select that application. We don't want to hit authorize only, no setup in this case. The only reason why you'd really ever want to check that checkbox is if you're copying an application that already has Exact Forms Plus or one of our other add-ons installed in it already, and you want to essentially just authorize that so you can run it. You're possibly getting authorization errors, and this is the way to alleviate that. So that's why you would check this checkbox here, not in this case. So I'm going to go ahead and hit next. And now you're at the point where you have to decide what version of Exact Forms Plus you want to set up. So this is kind of where we condense the Exact Forms Plus batch tile into Exact Forms Plus here. So the single document generation, that is what we're going to want to do for this auto document generation, because we're technically generating one document per record. So we're only going to make one document, where the bulk document generation essentially allows us to generate several documents or a report worth of documents, kind of like Ken's question earlier. If you guys were on and listening for that, you'd want to use the bulk document generation to go for a whole report worth of invoices. But the single document generation, that's going to fire per an individual record and a one and done. So we're going to choose that in this case. And now it's going to ask me what table do I want it on. As I mentioned before, we're going to put it on the customers table. And I'm not going to upload a custom template, although I could. I do have a template ready. So you know what? Why don't I do that? We'll save a step here. And let's see. Did I save it yet? Welcome contact. Boom. Okay, so welcome contact form. We're just going to upload that and skip the sample document. Generating this as a PDF or a docx. So essentially the output file type is what it's coming out as the file extension. You could always change that after no matter what, so don't worry. And then there are some advanced settings here. You don't necessarily need to use these, but if you wanted to have the file generate and save to Amazon S3, you can choose this Amazon S3 button here. What you'll notice is we have a new step get added on the left side. That will allow you to set up your Amazon S3 account information if you don't already have it. Same thing with Dropbox, as well as the repository table. So for now, I'm going to do none, and I'm going to go ahead and hit finish because there's no other steps. And then on this finish tab, you're going to see that there's a list of all of the fields that were added. So this is a great, explanation. Now, one thing I want to say, and I mean this truthfully, do try to read everything on this page. We try not to make this too cluttered, but there's a lot of good information here. So I'm going to start from the top. You've successfully authorized your application. That's my first thing. Now, please refer to our documentation. I'm going to open up the documentation because you know what? I might need that, and I know I do. But it also says your setup for generating documents automatically is not yet finished. You will need to set up an email notification on the customers table. Click here to view the steps to create an email notification trigger for Exact Forms Plus batch to run. So here's an exact link to the email notification steps that we need, and we are going to need these. So I'm going to keep that open. And then also it tells you the following changes were made to the application. So it gives you the selected table, which was the customers, and a direct link to that. So I already have that open, so I don't need to click on that one. But now it tells me what fields were added to that table. So to the table customers, we added the document field. So that's the file attachment field, the EFP date field, which is the date time field we're updating. The EFP document PB. Now, for those of you who don't know, PB stands for progress bar. Exact Forms Plus document mobile friendly. This is just a rich text version that allows you guys to generate documents on mobile. We've noticed that, with the ever-changing environment of Quickbase, that this is the best way to handle mobile. So we wanted to give you guys that option. And then we have our generate EFP traditional. So kind of 3 different flavors of ice cream there, all basically doing the exact same thing. It's just preference for you guys. For the EFP batch error details, that's just going to be a field that's going to be updated if there are error messages. The batch processing arguments, now that's important because that's going to tell you essentially what the parameters are that are being passed in. So that's what I was saying. It's like very similar to this generate EFP document field. And then we have a trigger field, which is going to be based off of this execute EFP batch. Essentially, all that does is it's a trigger, a button that you can click to fire off the batch processor. Definitely not needed in the use case I'm going to show you guys today, but something you guys may want to utilize. The other things we have added is to the document templates table. We added a copy of this document template field, which is a newer field. And when this app was originally authorized, it wasn't there. We added document subtables and the EFP configurator. And we also added add new document subtable, which goes along with the new created table document subtables. So that's a long-winded explanation to here are all the fields and tables that were added. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. You can refresh. And if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see that that 76 is going to go up to 77 in a moment. So there you go. I'm just going to pause here for a second because that is everything with installing Exact Forms Plus into the application. Now, I do see we had a question in the chat. If I have an authorized app for single document generation and also want the bulk, do I need to reauthorize the app? No, you don't need to reauthorize the app, but you do need to hit set up another table. So for example, if I wanted to do that, I can go right back into this simple contact manager. And when I hit set up another table, you'll see that it takes me right to this step. So it skips the adding the user token and it skips identifying which application you are trying to generate, you're trying to install into, because we know that already. So it just allows you to say, hey, do you want to do a single document generation or a bulk document generation? So that's where we're going to go from there. And again, I'm going to go through the bulk document generation probably either next week or the week after. That's a great topic as well. And I'm going to show you guys also just kind of how to manage that if you already have it. Like how can you make changes in the future? How can you update your query, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's a good topic and we've been getting frequent questions on those. So we want to make sure that we have these available for you guys to follow along with. But with that said, I'm going to jump back into my customers table and you'll notice when I hit refresh, you'll see a new table get added to the side here. And we're also going to see that there's going to be new fields at the bottom. So we have our EFP fields here. I don't need all of these. So I know this is the old forms, but I'm going to go ahead And I'm going to take out most of these so that we're only looking at ones that are relevant to what we're trying to work with today. So I'm going to go to edit this. I'm going to take out these two. We can keep the details. I'm going to take out these two as well. And you know what? I'm going to move this one up. And you can see where my craziness might come in. But I kind of like when I have it set up like this, you know. And again, new forms, completely different animal. We definitely encourage people to use new forms. So if you have, you know, your own way of setting things up, we'd be interested to hear from you guys to how you like having Exact Forms Plus set up there. One of the reasons why we have the new versions of Exact Forms Plus Mobile is because the new forms and the way those buttons execute there. So definitely always interested to hear your guys' feedback on things like that. With that said, though, we're actually almost there. So what we want to do now is we want to go check the document templates table. That's typically my next step. So now I've confirmed that my master table has the fields on it I'm looking for. So I'm going to go check my document templates table, and I'm going to see what template was added here. So if you remember, I added that welcome contact here. And you know, when I see this right here, I feel I want to change this around because this default report does not really paint the full picture for me, and I would want to have a little bit changed here. So I'm going to show you guys my preference on this default report, and I definitely recommend you guys setting up your default report the same way for best ease of use. And just as a reminder, I'll go back one page. This is also including the Excel docs details because we do have Excel docs installed into this application. So you may want to have certain fields kept, certain fields removed, totally up to you guys on this default report. So I'm going to go ahead and do it my way though. So default report settings, first things first, record ID is absolutely critical. Record ID is how we're going to identify which template we're generating. So you always want to have that, in my opinion, right at the top. So you're going to have that as far to the left as possible so you could always see what template you're working with. Now, next you'll have your name and CList. You're going to always want those as well as the template file. Now, the CList, I see some people take out if they have massively long CList, so I get that. Maybe you want that at the bottom. Master table DBID and master table name, that's just essentially identifying the customers table in this example. And then what the Quickbase table DBID is. That is sometimes needed for these formulas, although we do have ways now with Quickbase to have that easily identifiable in formulas, so not as important as in the past, but you might want to keep those there. MSG details not found, message details not found. For those of you who don't know, essentially what that is it's a text field that you can update a custom message to say something when a subtable has no records found in it. So when the detail records are not found, you could have a message that say like no invoice line items found, or no quote items found, something like that, or no products found. That is what you'd want to fill in there. But for the default report, likely not needed. Exact forms plus version, likely not needed. Document subtable DBID, likely not needed. Excel sheet may be needed. But in this case, I'm going to take that out. Document subtable Excel DBID, I don't need. PDF pages, I don't need. Excel docs configurator, I will keep. Document subtable Excel, I'm going to take out. Add new document subtable, I'm going to take out. Excel docs configurator 2, I'm going to take out. Take that out. Copy this document template you guys might want. In my opinion, I don't need it. I'm going to take that out. Document subtables, take that out, and add new document subtable. I'm going to take that out. I just want to see my configurators. That's really it. Those are the important buttons. You could do almost everything right from within those configurators anyway. So all of the additional kind of quick base buttons, not always needed. So I personally think this looks a heck of a lot cleaner and kind of have everything you need at a glance. So that's my opinion. Choose to follow along or not, up to you guys. But now we know we're working with template 3, right? So I'm going to go ahead and open this one up. Again, now from here, we have the new form. Plenty of cleanup you can do here, plenty. But I'm not going to go into that too much right now. I just want to go and I'm going to open up that document and we're going to do just a really quick, where to go? That's not it. Let's open this up. Really quick welcome contract, right? Here we are. So I made this super simple before, so we're just going to add a few fields here, just to, proof of concept. So 6, 12, 13, 21, 18. So all I'm going to do is edit in the C list here, the 6, 12, et cetera, et cetera. Now I could use EFP configurator, so I'm going to go ahead and show you guys that. And I could have this sorted by field. So I want to add field 6, field 12, field 13, field 18, and field 21. Apply changes, close, and you'll see at the top that those fields are going to be added as well. So there you are. Now you can do that by hand. That's just a regular text field. Just make sure you have it separated by a period and you guys will be good to go there. But that's a quick and easy way to do it. So now that I have that, if I were to go into this record and just hit refresh, I could likely press this button and see that document generated right away. But that's not what the main objective here is. We want to have that auto generate. So let's see. So there you go. So, here's just a quick example of how that would look. Now, this is just a super simple sample document, guys. I know some of you have really, really cool documents, so I don't want to downplay that. I just made that, this very quickly before this call, just so that we can show something. So you can see all the fields that came from Quickbase just popped right into there, following also the formatting that we gave it. So the colorization, if it would have been bold, italicized, underlined, it would have followed all that. So you can see this one's bolded and it keeps that bolded as well. So just things to point out there. So let's go back now and let's do the auto generation piece. So all I'm going to need for this is I'm going to need this batch processing arguments field. Now, one thing I want to show you guys to make sure I hit this home is this is the formula of the arguments. Now, there's a couple things to note here. This should look exactly the same as what's behind the exact forms plus button. The only real things that are differences is we don't have the URL at the top, one, and there can't be any spaces in this. So you'll notice that we actually, kind of / our way out of spaces here and just put EFP document. You guys can name this however you want, but it will not work if there's a space there. So if you want spaces, you can either replace it with underscores, or I believe you can / out of it like we have here. Besides that, all we're updating is this error detail fid, and then we're saying type equals exact forms plus batch, so EFP batch. You also notice we have template 3 here. That's all exact forms plus stuff. I'm not going to get into that now as much, but I want to also show you that's the batch processing arguments. Here's the button itself. It's pretty much exactly the same. Take out everything above here. You'll notice that this is almost one-to-one, exactly the same. There is a space in this file name, but besides that, they're really doing the same exact thing. So I want to make sure everyone makes that clear so that, there's clear understanding to what the objective here is. All right. So the only other step that we need to do next is we need to make a Quickbase email notification. We do have our step-by-step guide right here to how to make the email notification, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you guys myself. One thing I'm going to steal is this because we want that. But I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to hit settings. So the settings gear is going to allow us to then make an email notification. So I'm going to hit new and we're going to pick notification. The big kicker here is you want to hugely important. You want to pick the open email notification because what that allows you to do is to email an individual outside of your organization, such as our exact forms plus batch processor. I'm also going to put my own email in there as a safeguard check so that I can see that this request went out. And I know then if it goes out that a document should be generated. And if it's not, then I did something wrong. So that's one way to check yourself. Notification, generate EFB. And then this is a very important part as well. The notification when is kind of the conditions of why this should get kicked off. So we can say when a customer is modified and any of the following field changes, and maybe I want to have it be based off of customer status. That's always a good one. So we could do that. And we can make sure that, there's some additional criteria like maybe email address is not blank. So if you are sending this out via email, that it won't fail sending an email. It won't generate at all if there's a blank email, because obviously you're going to fail if that. So email address is not equal to blank. So that's a good way to do it. And maybe you want to have like customer status, because that's what we're using is, is equal to, let's say it's equal to active customer, right? So now you're saying, okay, we only want to generate this when the customer status is equal to active customer and the email is not blank, and when customer status changes. So by changing it to be an active customer, let's generate a document. Or maybe it's invoices. When you want to change an invoice to past due, you change that status and it's going to generate that invoice automatically rather than having to remember to click the button. Now, Quickbase does kind of a nice job and they put in the custom message all this jargon to put as a sample email. I recommend take that all out. Now, all you need to do is go to choose fields and markers here on the right, right? Because we're in the custom message. And you're going to want to go to batch processing arguments. And that's it. That's all you need in your email. No spaces, nothing after it. That's it. And you can name it generate, EFP dash company. Just so that if there is an issue, that will help us help you find the issue faster. So we can go and search by your company name. Besides that, you are done. That is all you need in the email notification. Just to check back in, when you come here, you want to make sure that the owner is someone who is going to be in your company long-standing. If that owner name is red, that means they are no longer there and that email notification is never going to fire. So you're just going to change that owner to be someone who is at the organization. You also want to make sure that this is checked to green for active. And lastly, if you click open email notification, and you get an error message that looks like this, the very bottom here, please just enter a support ticket to Quickbase and ask them to allow for open email notifications in your realm, and they will do that for you. So just so you know, if you ever get this error message, this is how you resolve that. It's right at the bottom of our screen. All right. So let's go back up to where we were. That one out. And let's go into the customers and let's see if we can generate this one first try. Fingers crossed, right? So we have this customer status as qualified prospect. We do have the email address placed in here. And we see that it already generated once, and it generated at 7:17 at 11:32 a.m. So it's now 12:39. So we should see it be 11:39 because clearly we're in Pacific time. So we're going to change this to active customer, and that should be it. So let's see. Fingers crossed, everyone. While we give that a moment to go off, does anyone have any questions about what we saw so far? All right. Well, there you are, folks. 11:40. I know it's very anticlimactic there, but it did work. So here's that document generated. Again, maybe I should make a change. Maybe we'll take Kristen Gomez's name out. Let me just change this. Change that back, and we'll do telling us just as a proof of concept here. So essentially what I just did is I untriggered it so that it went back to qualified prospect. And now I'm going to change this back again and make that active customer again. So we should see another document get generated with my name on it, but just as a point though, here's both documents that got generated. But that should work again. So again, any questions so far? We do have our batch process complete. I probably didn't need to show you guys that because we have this here. But yeah. Okay, I do see we have a hand raise. And here you go.
Yeah, so if you want to email this document, how can we do that?
So you'll need to use the courier, and that's one of our other tools. So that's on the Juice Cloud. That's QB Courier, and you'll have to fire that out also based off of an email notification. And essentially that email notification is just going to fire to our batch processor for Courier. So if I go to our help site and I scroll to email notifications for Courier, here we have, there's the setup info. Let's see. So here is how you set up an email notification for a triggered email. So this one you can see a little bit older, but we do have the configuration ID details here. That's what you're going to put into your email message, but you do need to subscribe to Courier to do that, to fire off that email automatically. So the document just got created but not sent anywhere. Correct, Ember. What that did is that just generated the document. So that's all we were doing. The batch processor in this scenario was just generating that document only. That is just the document generation portion of this is just that only. Just creating the document that is not going to send it out anywhere unless you have Courier also included. And when you have Courier with this trigger work, if we updated records in grid view, yes, it would. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, but you can do it. You could do it via checkbox as well if you wanted to. If you wanted to do more than one record at a time, you could use the bulk document generation. So if you have a report of records that you wanted to generate it for, you can choose that report and then press one button to generate it for all of them rather than having to go down a list and still click, 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 click the ones that you want. But you can do it that way, yes. One thing you might need to also notify you of is in this email notification. If you want to do it that way, Ember, you have to have the multiple record version also on. And there used to be.
And to clarify, is that included in Exact Forms Plus with this batch mode that we've just done, or is that requiring Courier
Yep.
for that single button?
Nope.
Courier simply allows us to email out, right?
Courier is strictly just the emailing portion of this. Courier allows you to send an email with the file attachment, also from your own mail server. So it's coming out from you, not notify@quickbase.com, which is a better user experience for your end users, and they'll obviously be more likely to open anything that comes from your mail server than notify@quickbase.com. But yes, that is 100% included in Exact Forms Plus. You don't need Courier to do the grid edit mode. That's only for the email. But Ember, to say, would this trigger work if we updated the records in grid view? Again, yes. I just want to make sure I go back and point this out. In these steps here, you'll see that we have the custom measure batch processor arguments, right? Right here, the repeat on, repeat off. You do need to make sure that you have that included as well for the multiple record version, because that is going to allow it to repeat. Now, I don't know why. I think they took those markers out of here, but you can just still type in, percent repeat on, percent batch processing arguments, percent repeat off, percent. So let's see. You know what? Let's put it to the test. Why not, right? Capital O. Oh, why did I do that?
So the same steps will work if we are storing the file on S3 also.
Yes, yeah. The S3 parameters just need to be included within your batch processing arguments. So again, those batch processing arguments should be exactly the same as what's in your button for the most part. It's just going to appear a little bit differently because there's no spaces allowed.
Okay, so we'll have to manually add that.
You should be able to do that when you do the installation. If you choose the S3 version, you should be able to finish that and get those parameters included, but you can manually edit it as well. If you were to go in and look at what's behind the scenes of your button, you can kind of see what you could take out. So if I wanted to take these two, for example, and I place them in my batch, and they might already be here, but let's see the differences here. There's just another ampersand. So you're just going to want to take that out and put a space in that, put a space. So that's really the only real differences there between the two. You just want to put those parameters in and you can keep everything else the same as long as there's no spaces. That is the most critical part. Take that back out. I'm not even going to save. And let's see if I put on customers, let's add to this default report. If customer status is not already there, customer status, let's put that right at the top. So if I took these two new leads, hit grid edit, and change that to active, change that to active, we should see exact forms plus get generated for those two. So let's see. And we want to make sure, okay, EFP document, cool. Let's see. And there you are. So those two got generated just now. So yes, Ember, long story short, I'm glad we could show you and it worked live. That's how you would add it for grid edit. So great. Yep. All right, folks. Well, that is pretty much everything I've got right now.